Well, howdy folks, High Desert Garden here. Today what I'd like to do is show you guys how to do something really cool, and that is to start a pomegranate tree from seed. Some people refer to a pomegranate as a bush because they will get real bushy depending on how you let them grow. But for the most part, I hear people refer to them as pomegranate trees, so that's what I think they are. But pomegranates are really great. I love them. I really want to grow one because they're so expensive if you buy them in the store. And if you can grow your own, that's always just so much better. So we're going to start off with, and what I'm going to show you guys first is preparing the soil. So I've already started to prepare my soil here. So I'm just going to show it to you, show you what I got. Alright, so here, this is one of those little Jiffy containers that I got last year. And it's like a little greenhouse thing. It's pretty cool. You put the little top on it, and it does have some ventilation, of course. But for the most part, it holds the moisture in real well. Now, I've already, like I said, put some soil in here. Actually, what this is, these are worm castings from my worm bin. I'm just going to give you a sneak peek. Here are my worm bins over here. There's the worm bin back there in the corner that these castings came out of. And here is the High Desert Garden flow-through bin, which I built myself recently, and I showed a video on that. But anyhow, you don't have to have worm castings to do this. Certainly seeds will sprout in just about anything because they have the energy they need to sprout contained within the seed. Of course, once that seed sprouts and puts down roots, it's going to need nutrients. But then again, you don't need worm castings like I have here. In fact, this is not pure worm castings. I filled this about halfway with peat moss. You could use peat moss or cocoa coir. And then I put, I filled it up the rest of the way with castings. So it's about 1 part peat moss, 1 part castings. And again, you don't even have to do that. You can use regular potting soil. Alright, so don't stress about it if you don't have these things. If you're just getting started as a gardener and you don't have this stuff, don't worry about it. Anyhow, the reason I prepared this dirt in this tray is so that I could measure it out. Now I gotta mix it. Alright, so you can see there's the peat moss. So I'm gonna finish mixing this soil and put it back in here. I'm not gonna bore you with that. Here are the pomegranate seeds I'm going to plant in here. Now I'm going to show you right quick how I am going to prepare the seeds. So let's get our seeds here. Pomegranate seeds are just so wonderful, aren't they? Alright, so I'm going to take a seed, and essentially you're just going to eat the outside coating off of it. You can peel it off. You can do whatever you want to get it off, but it's good. Alright, so when you're doing this in your mouth, you just want to be careful that you do not bite down on the seed. Here is what the seed looks like with that outer coating off of it. Just a little white seed. That's what we're going to be planting. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to the rest of the seeds that I will be planting, and then we're going to get to planting them. Alright, so I got my soil mixture. I got most of the soil in here. I saved some in the container here because I like to put my seeds down, and I just like to put some dirt over the top of it. Alright, so here is what the seeds look like once you get that outer coating off. They're just these little white seeds. So I went ahead and I decided to just do 10 seeds, and I'm going to eat the rest because they're so good. Alright, so I'm just going to place some seeds in here. I don't like where that one's placed. Let's place it there-ish. There we go. And I like to try and lay them in there sideways on their side, kind of like they're going to bed, because when they sprout, they're going to sprout out one end, and it'll be easier for them to stand up if they're on their side. Same goes for pumpkin seeds and just about any seed that's kind of elongated like this. You want to put it to bed right on its side. It's just less energy for it to stand up. Alright. Just like so. The really cool thing about harvesting just a few castings from the worm bin, I saw so many juvenile worms in there. Many of them were large enough for me to pick out and throw back in the worm bin. Some of them are just so small, you know, if you try to pick them up, you're going to kill them. So there are tiny, tiny, tiny baby worms in here. That's okay. There's plenty of peat moss in there for them to eat. So there I've got the seeds to bed. Now to go ahead and lay some more dirt across. And you only need, you know, 1/4 to a 1/2 inch of dirt on the top there. You don't need a lot. So just trickle some dirt on there, and we will lightly push down on it. We won't compact it or anything like that. If you do a little bit, it's not a big deal, but you don't want to press on it so hard that you shove your seed way down into the bottom. Alright, so there we go. So then, you know, in a couple years from now, we should have some pomegranates. This is one of those things that does take time, but it's pretty neat, pretty cool to be able to do it. So what I will do is, my soil is pre-moistened. I might spray it down just a couple sprays with a spray bottle. I will put the top on it. I will put it in a place where it can kind of get some indirect light. If I give it any direct sunlight at all, it'll be very, very little. And this little top will hold the moisture in pretty much regardless anyway. But this isn't going to need a lot of sun for these to sprout. Now once they sprout, yes, I will definitely want them to at least get really good indirect light, especially once they sprout, and then kind of work them slowly into the sunlight. You know, I just want to say again, this is one of those things that, you know, you may not see results from right away. You know, it's not like planting a tomato or planting some lettuce, but it's never too late to get started. You know, no matter how old you are. I mean, I'm 38, and I wish I had got started much, much younger, because a lot of the things that I would really like to be reaping the benefits from, because they take several years to grow, I'm having to just start with them, and it'll be several years, but that's also part of the fun. I do wish I had started younger, but it's never too late to get started gardening. It's been the greatest hobby. It's been the greatest life change I've ever made. So I hope this video finds you well. I hope you give it a try. The brand, I just wanted to mention also, the brand of pomegranate that I planted here is just the typical brand that you get in the store. If you've bought pomegranates in the store, the brand that you probably got is Wonderful. Wonderful is the most popular brand, and it is a really good eating pomegranate. The seeds have just a little crunch to them, but they're not too crunchy. And you can get different varieties of pomegranates, some that will have much less of a crunch to the seeds, and some that may have rock hard seeds. So do your research. If you do purchase pomegranate seeds, or even a pomegranate tree online from a nursery or something like that, do your research on it before you get it. Me personally, I don't mind having a seed that has a little bit of a crunch. I would like to get other varieties that have even less of a crunch, and try some different varieties. There's some really good Russian varieties out there. Anyways, I'm going to bring you guys the update when these seeds do sprout. So I'm bringing you another update on the pomegranate seeds because they are to the point now where I need to transplant them out of the mini Jiffy greenhouse, and I need to transplant them into some individual pots. Anyways, I decided to put the Jiffy greenhouse on a heating pad specifically for sprouting seeds, not just any old heating pad. Make sure if you get a heating pad, things like peppers and obviously pomegranates like the heat from the heating pad. So I put them on the heating pad, and within 3 days I had pomegranate seeds popping up everywhere. So they didn't exactly germinate within 6 days. They may have if I had had them on the heating pad the whole time. But once I placed them on the heating pad, like I said, it was only a matter of 3 days. So, yeah, let me show you what they look like. Alright, so this is a pomegranate seedling. You can see it looks nothing like a tomato seedling. It is kind of yet to unravel. Obviously you can see I've already potted this one up. I put it in a nice big pot. Now the soil that I used, believe it or not, I have not gone down to the big box store and bought gardening soil or anything in quite some time. So the bedding that I've been making for my worms, my worm bins, makes great potting soil, because I mean it's 50% compost, 50% cocoa coir, so it works great. I used that as well as I added a good handful of worm castings to the mix, and that's how I potted this up. So when I do transplant seedlings, I like to give them a little miniature greenhouse like this. It's just a pop bottle. It does have ventilation through the top because you do want it to be able to get some air circulation in there. But this has worked great for me. I've never had a seedling fail. Obviously you don't have to do this for many seedlings like tomatoes and seedlings like that do great. But I find that squash, pumpkins, cucumbers, any tropical-ish kind of plant like a pomegranate as well is going to do really, really well if you put a little miniature greenhouse on there. Because what it does is it prevents it from drying out or transpiring all that moisture out of its little leaves. It allows the roots to take hold and settle in and begin to pull the moisture up. So I usually like to cover it up for a week or so. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the rest of them here. Alright, so this is our Jiffy mini greenhouse. And here are the other 4 that have sprouted thus far. So you can see obviously they look totally different than the volunteer tomato seedlings that you saw in here before. The little seed packet just came off of the top of that one. So there they are. I've decided to just transplant 3 because I don't need a ton of pomegranate, trees sitting around. So I've got these other 2 pots, and I've already done 1, so I'm just gonna do 2 more. And I'm going to show you how I do that, how I'm transplanting these. So you want to be very careful not to disturb too much the roots of the plant, the tree. I like to take something like a spoon and run it down the side. Make sure I grab a nice big chunk of the soil with it, and there you have it. You want to be careful that your soil doesn't crumble away. You can probably see, remember when I planted these seedlings, I had baby worms in there. You might be able to see that in the shot there. So now I take this, let's push this aside, take my pot, make a little space for it, maybe a little bit more to make sure I can get it in there, and then it just goes right down in there. Like I said, you want to be careful. I mean, using the method that I use, even if you disturb the roots a little bit, not a big deal, because of the fact that I covered up with the little mini greenhouse. Those roots are going to have plenty of time to recover as long as you keep it nice and humid. So I'm just going to sort of tamper a little bit the soil. A good way to think about this when you're tampering it down, just don't press very hard. You don't want to press any harder than you would on, you know, like your eyeball or something like that. So there, we've got the pomegranate seedling in the pot, and like I said, I will take one of these mini greenhouses and I'm going to put this in the patio door in the window where it can get a decent amount of sunlight. Alright, so I wouldn't exactly want to stick it outside quite yet, but in the window where it can get lots of sun, a south-facing window is going to be great. And I will go ahead and bring you guys an update, you know, I don't know, probably in a couple weeks, a month, so you can see how these are doing. With the soil, the cocoa core, nice light fluffy soil with the worm castings, I think it is going to do really great. So go ahead and hit that button and subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and you will see the update coming up here soon.